Melissa, it's so great to see you.
You too.
And I'm pretty excited to be discovering Rippon Lea today because I don't live far from here and drive past quite often the front gates.
Well, it's pretty amazing to think that there is a 19th century mansion, an authentic one, surrounded by 14 acres of magnificent gardens here in Elsternwick, which is what, a stone's throw from the city in Victoria.
Pretty much. I mean, it is so fantastic because it's now owned by the National Trust and it's run by the National Trust, so it's going to be here for generations of people to enjoy.
And look at this expansive lawn. I just love the way it just leads right up to those garden beds and the mansion. It's as pretty as a picture, isn't it?
It is as pretty as a picture. You can just imagine everyone having a little stroll or maybe playing some croquet.
Yeah, picnicking. So the mansion was built in 1868 for Frederick Sargood and his family, and he was a wealthy businessman and later became a politician.
Now, when it comes to estates, Melissa, I do know that you can have an idea of how old they are by looking at how many mature trees are around the property.
Yeah, and Rippon Lea has some magnificent old trees like this oak, and most of them would be over 100 years old.
Oh, they're simply stunning. Wow, look at this. How beautiful.
This is actually the largest surviving Victorian fernery in the Southern Hemisphere. That's quite amazing, right?
It is, in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
It could be in the world.
Yeah, we'll claim
Wow.
that. But it was actually built in the late 1800s, so that was a time when ferns were like the height of fashion. Every Victorian home had to have a fern.
Well, it's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, the ferns just have such a beautiful canopy.
Yeah.
And the framework's made of iron, is it?
Yeah, so it's a cast iron lattice work. It's got this curved design, so architecturally quite magnificent.
It is very, even from the outside it's magnificent, but once you come inside, it's truly stunning.
And it really did provide a microclimate for these shade-loving ferns, you know, so they were able to escape the heat and the wind.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa, you know you're on an estate of grandeur when there's a lake and a bridge.
Yes, you have a mansion that size, you've got to have a lake to match.
Wow.
So this was originally excavated in the 1870s.
Well, you can imagine that the family must have had fun around the lake over their summers, probably boating. Let me guess, there's probably a boat shed
There
as
is
well.
a boathouse. In fact, they spent a lot of their leisure time, the family spent a lot of their leisure time here boating on the lake.
It's been really interesting to understand what was fashionable at the time. I mean, a fernery, and you've got some bridges. A grotto was very fashionable to build in your garden if you could.
Yeah, so a grotto was like a small cave or a structure made to look like a small cave. It was really popular in European gardens in the 18th century.
You got a grotto at your house?
I know. You haven't made it until
How
you've
about
got a grotto and a
massive
bee in your face.
mosquitoes? Shall we go and have a look?
Yes, shall.
Just off the drawing room, you'll find the conservatory. It's a little like Cluedo, isn't it?
It is, with Colonel Mustard and the trowel.
Or the wrench.
That's better. So we're in the conservatory, and see, gardeners in the Victorian age, they were really fascinated with plants from all over the world. And so a conservatory that was warm and cosy gave them a chance to sort of grow and show off all these tropical beauties.
It's definitely warm in here compared to the rest of the house.
Yeah, you can
So
feel
what
it.
sort of plants would thrive?
Well,
Back then, what would they
Yeah,
be
so
looking for?
Frederick Sargood was fascinated with orchids, so I imagine it was probably filled with orchids in its heyday, but today it's got things like begonias and bromeliads, and you can even spot a few orchids around here too.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back a little later in the show to explore more of this beautiful estate.
And I'll be throwing together a little summer salad.